Question: is the British government complicit in war crimes in Gaza? Crispin Blunt, a Conservative MP and co-director of the International Centre of Justice for Palestinians ICJP, has written a strongly worded letter sent to the Prime Minister and to Scotland Yard's War Crimes Unit entitled "Prime Minister warned of intention to prosecute UK government officials for complicity in war crimes in Gaza." The ICJP has issued Prime Minister Rishi Sunak with a stark warning that UK government officials could be individually liable for their role in aiding and abetting Israeli war crimes. Sunak has been issued with the notice of intention to prosecute UK government officials for their role in providing military, economic and political support to Israel, which has aided Israel's perpetration of war crimes, the document says. The ICJP argues the British government will be aware that actions taken by Israel since the 7th of October have already been reported as constituting serious breaches of international criminal law, international humanitarian law and international human rights law. The ICJP focuses on a number of areas which they say are evidences of war crimes, and 4 are summarised here. 1. Attacks on Gaza, not complying with the requirement under international law for proportionality and distinction, have indiscriminately killed and injured civilians, including women, children and the elderly. Reports document entire families being killed, with all members of the family from every generation, young to old, being killed. And over 500 children have already been killed since the 7th of October in the span of only 6 days. 2. Credible reports on Israelis' use of white phosphorus munitions against the civilian population in Gaza, a substance which known to cause burns and risk fire to those who are impacted by it, here the Palestinian civilians. 3. On the 13th of October, Israel issuing a directive to 1.2 million people in Gaza to immediately leave their home. This order may well amount to both a war crime and a crime against humanity, particularly the crime of forcible transfer and displacement. And how, ICJP further explain, impossible to evacuate vulnerable hospital patients from northern Gaza, particularly those on ventilators, and forcing such action would be a death sentence. And 4. The siege on Gaza. Since Sunday, the 8th of October, Israel has imposed a total siege on Gaza, cutting off its electricity, water and food supplies, and preventing the access of humanitarian aid. The withholding of food, water and other basic necessities from civilian populations during international armed conflict is expressly forbidden under IHL, the ICJP says. Further, ICJP also explains the government complicity in this way. It is unacceptable that the UK government has not only continued to express support for Israel's actions in Gaza, but has also provided military assistance and economic support. The UK government must be aware that such support and assistance raises the risk of the UK government being complicit in the commission of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The ICJP letter provides 6 action points in order to prevent further legal action. The UK government must immediately: 1. Issue a public statement condemning Israeli breaches of international law. 2. Asks each government official that has encouraged war crimes in Gaza to rescind their statements in public. 3. Insists Israel complies unequivocally with international law. 4. Immediately act to safeguard civilians in Gaza. 5. Calls for an immediate ceasefire to prevent further loss of life. And 6. Calls for an immediate end to the siege to allow the secure access of humanitarian aid to Gaza. The ICJP co-director Crispin Blunt says this: he is a strong supporter of Prime Minister Sunak and wishes to divert him from a serious policy error and enable him to express strong emotional support to Israel in the face of an appalling war crime that was a planned terrorist part of Hamas's direction on Saturday's operation against Israel, whilst guiding Israel to accept the restraints that international law places on the democracies. And the letter finally ends by saying this: we reserve our right to proceed to apply for private arrest warrants for politicians complicit in war crimes without further notice. But what do you think? Is the British government complicit in war crimes? Feel free to comment, follow, like and share.